Did you know that the phrase, "let anyone who has ears listen," is in the Bible 40 times? 40 times the Bible says, "let anyone who has ears listen." So anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Is we're going to be talking about listening, and it was all based on that lesson that Sharon just had us act out. It's also one of my favorite stories too, because it shows what a sense of humor God has. He could have just gone straight to him, but no, he plays this little thing, gets everybody involved. It was awesome. So I want to ask, we're going to do two parts of the sermon today. The first part is going to be how to listen more closely to what God's got to say. And the second is how to listen better to one another. So we're going to start off with listening to God, and I want to ask you a question. If God was going to try to get through to you today specifically, to you specifically, how would he get through to you? If God wanted to come to you and say, "Hey, you are doing a marvelous job as one of my people, would you listen to me?" How would he get to you? Or if God wanted to come to you and say, "Hey, you got to straighten up. You're going the wrong way. You're not doing the right thing." Could God possibly do that? So if God wanted to get through to you, how would he do it? Well, I'm going to share with you some ways that you possibly could, but I want to ask you about if some assumptions I have are true. First of all, is it okay to assume that all of us want to be in tight, close to God? Is that safe to assume?
Yes.
Give me a little feedback here, okay? This is on listening. Hey, wake that guy up in the back over there, will you? No, just kidding. Is it safe to assume that we want to, with the way we live our lives, give honor and glory and praise to God at all times?
Yes.
Okay, and is it safe to assume that we would like to hear from God when he's answering our prayers?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you a way to do that. And did everybody get a little questionnaire when you came in? If you take that out, on the back of the questions are what I'm going to go through right now. And this is a wonderful way to do it. And the first thing that you to do is to take some time. To take some specialized time that you can allocate just for listening to God. Some people do it early in the morning or late at night or maybe even over noon, but find a place where you can just be quiet for a while and bring with you something to write with and something to write on. Okay, the second thing to do is relax. Get in a comfortable position, whether it's lying down or lounging or sitting, or whatever you have to do to be totally comfortable and at peace with your body so that God can not have to fight through your tenseness. The third thing is tune in. Open your heart to God. Either silently or loud, just say to God, "I'm ready to listen to you. Speak to me. Tell me what you would like me to do. Tell me what you are doing in my life. Tell me what you want me to do differently. Come and speak to me." Tune into God. It can be either specific or general. And then once you do that, be quiet, then listen. Put everything else out of your head that you possibly can. Let God come. And when he comes, things are going to start to flow. You're going to start to have ideas. You're going to start to have thoughts. Things are going to pop in, and just let them come. And as they do, write them down. Everything that comes in, whether it's holy or not holy, whether it's relevant or irrelevant, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. Just write it down. You could have somebody's name come up. You could have a passage you forgot to choose. Just write everything down. Don't judge it at all. Don't criticize it. And then the final step is, after a time, test everything out. And you test it against, is it good, is it helpful, is it unselfish? And then you test it against the scriptures. Is what I've been hearing, those things that I listed, are they in keeping with God's word, or do you have us do? Test them out and bounce them off, and then you can evaluate. And when you're done, you should have an idea of God speaking to you. Some people actually hear his voice. I've never had that opportunity, but if we just open ourselves, God will speak to us, and we will hear him more clearly in our lives. So I would like to challenge you, sometimes during this week, you don't have to do it every day, but just one time. Are you up for this?
Yes.
Okay, one time. Go through this step, take the sheet home with you. Relax, tune in, listen, write, and then evaluate or test. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about listening to each other. And that's so appropriate because it seems like no matter where you go today, people are talking. And I'm sitting here writing this, I thought, this is good. I'm talking about listening. But I got to talk to you. And it's kind of, but if you surf TV channels or if you listen to dialing in different radio stations, all you hear is talk. Everybody's talking. There's Fox News, CNN News, there's Rush Limbaugh, there's Howard Stern, there's Dr. Phil, there's Rachel Ray, and they're all talking. But sometimes we just need to listen. There's a quote that's pretty famous, you've probably heard it before, and I love it. It says, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Isn't that wise? 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much. So now we're going to talk about how we can become better listeners. But before we do, I want to kind of set a benchmark to show if we're growing. So I put in a little quiz in here. If you got one of these, take it out. Find something to write with, and we're going to see how good a listener you are. Are you up for that? Yes. All right, here we go. Now, every question I ask is going to have, I want you to put a number down by how you do it. So if the first question is, I make people think I'm interested so they'll like me. If you never do that, put a 0. If you do it sometimes, put down 1. If you do it half the time, say 2, frequently 3, or if you always do that, number 4. Okay? And we're going to add them up and see what kind of listeners we are. So, number 1, you got it? Number 2, I act alert because I don't want people to reject me. Some more of them are coming. Does everybody have one now? This is really going to be boring if you don't do it. It's boring if you do it. No, it's not. It's good. All right. Number 3, there's a lot of them, so I'm going to keep going. Number 3, I listen for the information that I'm most interested in and then kind of ignore the rest. I've tried that, and it's not a good thing to do. Okay, number 4. I pretend to listen, but I really find myself buying time just so I can prepare for my next comment. Is that never, sometimes, half the time, frequently, or always? Number 5. I half listen so that the person speaking will have to listen to me next. Okay, number 6. I listen for vulnerable spots to take advantage of the speaker's weakness. I definitely don't suggest you try that at home. Number 7. I listen for weak points in an argument so that I can be right in my response. Number 8. I check to see how the speaker is reacting to me in order to make sure I produce the desired effect. Be honest. Okay, number 9. I half listen because that's what a good, kind, and nice person would do. And number 10. I half listen because I don't know how to get away without hurting or offending someone. Okay, now what I want you to do is take all those numbers and add them up. And get a big number down at the bottom. And this is like, I'll tell you ahead of time, this is kind of like golf. The lower the number, the better. You're probably very good at expressing yourself, but you have a long way to go in improving when it comes to listening. And that's something to work on. That's why we're doing this. Okay, if you have 20 to 29, you make an effort to be an active listener. That would be very helpful to work and build on your active listening skills. If you have 11 and 19, you already have a solid foundation in active listening, but you could definitely build on this to be even better. If you have 6 to 10, you're a good active listener, and really what you need to do is just polish your skills. And if you have 0 to 5, you are excellent at active listening. Keep up the good work and offer to do a sermon. Because that's pretty good. Okay. So did you do better or worse than you thought you would? Better? Worse? I kind of did worse than I thought I would. Because I like to think of myself as being a pretty good listener, but I have a few annoying things that I discovered that I do, and I don't like it. So I'm going to work on that. So that'll be helpful for you. And it's really good because the more we understand each other and communicate with each other, the better our relationship's going to go, and the better the love of God is going to flow through us. This is all based on a Bible passage in the book of James. Would you read it with me? Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. Now I'm going to share with you 5 active things for active listening. First of all, pay attention. Pay attention. Give the speaker your undivided attention and acknowledge the person speaking. Recognize that nonverbal communication also says a lot. So look at the person, communicate. The second one is let the person know that you're listening. That's why sometimes when I ask you a question and you guys sit there, I'll kind of encourage you just to give you a little feedback, because that way I know you're with me. But do that either physically, and sometimes you can just kind of, make something verbal. I think that's why Baptists always shout amen in the middle of sermons. It gets them excited. It lets the pastor know, okay, you're kind of going okay. All right, then number 3 is provide feedback. Now, our personal filters and assumptions, our judgments and beliefs can sometimes distort what we hear. So if that is the case and you're feeling something going on inside you that you're not very comfortable with, this is a perfect time for you to ask clarifying questions. You say, like, what I'm hearing you saying is, or it sounds to me like you're saying, that sort of thing. Or what do you mean when you say this? And those are wonderful phrases to get people to go deeper. Now here's a tip of being a good listener. When the person speaking is making you angry, and you feel your blood pressure go up, your face gets red, you're not sure, but there could very well be smoke coming out of your ears, and you're just really ticked off. You could say very calmly as you can, I may not be understanding you correctly, but what I thought you said was, did you mean to say that? And allow the one speaking to say that. And a lot of times it will smooth the conversation out. And then the fourth one is defer judgment. Allow the person to talk. Don't be judging and don't interrupt. Interruption just kills the conversation and makes it much more escalated. And a 5th is to respond appropriately. Active listening is a model for respect and for understanding. We as God's people are called not to be hot-tempered and to be disagreeable, but we're called to get along, to speak well. And we all have emotions. We have ups and downs. We have things that drive us crazy and things that elate us. And we all have our buttons. And if we are active in our listening, we can reflect calmly and assert our opinions, exactly what we think, but always treat the other person in a way that you would like to be treated. All right, remember the quote? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. And the Bible passage, read it with me again. Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. And if we can improve our listening skills, I guarantee that we will exponentially expand the experience of God's grace that He has embedded in His creation and within each one of us. God has given us ears. Let anyone who has ears listen. Amen.